They won't teach you this in school. They'll teach you equations, names, and dates. But they won't teach you the truth that decides everything about your future. That the battlefield of life is not fought in the streets. It's not fought in offices or on stages or in boardrooms. It's fought in your mind. Every thought is a weapon. Every belief is a soldier. Every doubt is a landmine. And if you don't take command of it, it will command you. Rule your mind, or it will rule you. Because here's the brutal truth. Most people are prisoners in their own heads. They've been taught to obey their emotions, not master them. To accept their fear, instead of challenge it. To listen to the voice that says, you can't, instead of the whisper that says, try again. But every legend you've ever admired, every icon, every visionary, every titan of industry, faced that same war. When Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb, he didn't listen to the voices of defeat. He didn't surrender to the exhaustion, the doubt, the criticism. He ruled his mind. And because of that, he lit up the world. When Henry Ford was laughed at for trying to build a car for the masses, when people called him insane for dreaming beyond horse-drawn carriages, he didn't flinch. He trained his mind to see possibility where others saw limits. He built a mindset stronger than steel, and then he built an empire on top of it. This isn't about being smart. It's not about talent, luck, or connections. It's about control. Control over the one thing that shapes every second of your existence, your mind. Thoughts create beliefs. Beliefs drive actions. Actions shape results. And results become your life. So if your thoughts are poisoned by fear, doubt, insecurity, laziness, then your life will be a reflection of that poison. You can't escape it. You can't fake it. You become what you think. Every single day. And yet, here's the power most never realize. You can change it. You can bend the steel of your mental prison and walk out the front gate. You can choose what thoughts get to live in your mind, and which ones get evicted. You can train your mind like a warrior trains his body. With discipline. With purpose. With unshakable intention. Because let me tell you something, your mind is not your enemy. It's your kingdom. But you have to claim the throne. If you leave it empty, doubt will sit there. Fear will sit there. Weakness will wear the crown. But if you take your rightful place, if you stand tall, even when your knees shake, if you command your thoughts with fire and precision, then you become something most people never will. You become dangerous. Not to others, but to failure. To mediocrity. To the ordinary life that was handed to you instead of the extraordinary life you were born to build. So ask yourself, what thoughts have ruled you until now? The voice that says, I'm not good enough? The fear that whispers, what if I fail? The anger, the jealousy, the comparison, the doubt? Burn them. Let them die in the fire of your new vision. Because you are not your thoughts. You are the master of your thoughts. And mastery starts with awareness. Noticing the lie when it creeps in. Catching the excuse before it becomes a habit. Shutting down the noise before it becomes your identity. You must become the watcher of your mind. Not its slave. Because here's the truth. The mind is a tool. A powerful one. But a tool left untrained will turn against its owner. A blade not sharpened becomes dull or worse, dangerous in the wrong hands. Your mind is like fire. Controlled, it warms you, fuels you, forges greatness. Uncontrolled, it consumes everything. So you must build the muscle of discipline, mental discipline. Start with your mornings. Start with the first thought you allow into your mind when your eyes open. Is it a thought of purpose or a thought of panic? Is it strength or surrender? That one thought can shape your entire day. And your days shape your destiny. Control your mornings, and you start to control momentum. Control momentum, and you control habits. And once you control your habits, you're unstoppable. Because that's what separates the greats from the forgotten. Not talent. Not fate. But mental discipline forged in the fire of intention. They rule their minds ruthlessly, consistently, and without apology. And because of that, the world bends to them, not the other way around. But most people, they drift. They wake up and hand over their minds to the world. To the headlines. To the noise. To the opinions of people who have no idea who they really are. They scroll, they react, they compare. They live in a constant state of mental chaos, distracted, unfocused, and emotionally hijacked. And then they wonder why they feel lost, why nothing ever changes. Because if you don't program your mind, the world will. If you don't direct your thoughts, they will scatter. If you don't choose what you focus on, everything will distract you. And if you don't protect your mental space, anyone and anything will invade it. You must treat your mind like a temple and a battlefield at the same time. Sacred. Guarded. Fiercely defended. Because the enemy is not always outside. Most of the time, it's the quiet whisper that says you're not ready. It's the subtle fear that holds you back when opportunity knocks. It's the voice of your past telling you that you are still that scared, broken, forgotten version of yourself. But that's a lie. You are not who you used to be. You are who you decide to become today. And that decision, that command, starts in your mind. Do you think Lincoln didn't feel fear before delivering the Gettysburg Address? Do you think Carnegie didn't wrestle with doubt when he faced opposition from every side? Do you think Walt Disney didn't question himself when he was rejected over and over and told he lacked imagination? They were not free of fear. They simply refused to be ruled by it. They built their inner world with more intention than most build their outer world. They developed mental fortresses built not with brick, but with belief. With clarity. With vision. And every single day, they reinforced that inner foundation with discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It's liberation. Because when your mind is ruled by discipline, your life is ruled by freedom. Freedom from distraction. Freedom from procrastination. Freedom from reacting to every little thing that doesn't go your way. You stop chasing dopamine. You start chasing greatness. And that shift, that evolution, begins in the stillness. Not in noise. Not in movement. In the moment you decide to go deeper than most people ever will. When you sit alone. And instead of running from your thoughts, you face them. You interrogate them. You strip them down and ask, does this belief serve me or destroy me? Did I choose this thought or did someone else put it here? That is the work. And that is where transformation begins. Because you cannot conquer the world until you conquer yourself. And self-conquest always begins in the mind. So build the habit of watching your thoughts. Not judging them, commanding them. Don't just think, direct your thinking. Don't just feel, understand your emotions. When you feel fear, ask, what is it trying to teach me? When you feel resistance, ask, what am I afraid of becoming? When you feel anger, ask, what wound am I protecting? Because every emotion is a messenger. But only the master listens without being ruled. The masses get tossed around by emotion like leaves in the wind. But the master? The master stands still in the storm, calm in the chaos, because he knows. The mind is not meant to be followed. It is meant to be led. And when you lead it, when you own it, when you become the calm center of your inner world, you become a force. A presence. A magnetic energy that the world can't ignore. That's not philosophy. That's physics. Thoughts carry vibration. Emotions carry energy. And energy attracts reality. So when your mind is aligned, your world begins to align. When your thoughts are focused, your path becomes clearer. When your beliefs are strong, your actions become fearless. And when your inner world is ruled with strength, vision, and purpose, the outer world eventually submits. Because no obstacle, no critic, no failure can break a man or woman who has ruled the kingdom within. But this mastery, it isn't given. It's earned in silence. It's forged in the early hours, when the world is asleep and there's no applause, no validation, no spotlight, only you and your mind, staring at each other. That's where champions are born. Not in the ring, not on the stage, not in front of cameras. But in solitude. where the weak run from their thoughts and the strong rise to confront them, where the average seek distraction and the uncommon seek discipline, where you realize the world doesn't owe you a thing, but your mind owes you everything. Understand this. The man or woman who rules their mind becomes immune to manipulation. You no longer need motivation because you've built momentum. You no longer need applause because your purpose is louder than the crowd. You no longer crumble at failure because you've reprogrammed it to mean feedback, not defeat. That is real power. And once you've tasted that level of control, no amount of comfort can seduce you again. Because you realize the price of freedom is paid in mental sweat. And the reward? Unshakable confidence. Unbreakable resilience. Unstoppable direction. You become the captain of your ship. And when the waves rise, you don't panic. Because you built your vessel in the storm. People will call you lucky. They'll say it must be natural. They'll say, you're just different. And they'll be right. Because you did what they refused to do. You didn't just wake up, you woke up on purpose. You didn't just think, you trained your thoughts like a warrior sharpens his sword. You didn't just react, you responded with reason, with clarity, with command. That's the difference between those who live intentionally and those who drift. See, the drifter is always in motion, but never in control. They run, but don't know where. They speak, but say nothing. They react to life like a leaf reacts to the wind, no anchor, no direction, no power. But the one who rules their mind? They move with precision. They speak with conviction. They act with discipline. Because they know that thoughts are not harmless. They are seeds. And if you're not planting strength, you're planting weakness. If you're not planting purpose, you're planting confusion. If you're not planting growth, you're planting decay. Every thought is a choice. Every day is a test. And the one who rules their mind passes the test not once, but relentlessly. Because greatness is not built in bursts. It's built in habits. Mental habits. Emotional habits. Spiritual habits. And the strongest habit of all is discipline over thought. Imagine this. A mind so focused, no distraction can derail it. A mind so strong, no fear can shake it. A mind so clear, no noise can cloud it. That's not fantasy. That's possible. But only when you become more committed to growth than comfort. Only when you say, enough. I will no longer be a slave to reaction, to emotion, to circumstance. I will lead. Because the truth is this. No one will give you that power. You must take it. Take it in the early morning, when the bed feels too warm and the dream too far. Take it in the late night, when the world feels heavy and doubt creeps in. Take it when fear whispers, when failure knocks, when life tests your will to rise. Because those moments are sacred. They are not setbacks, they are summons. Summons to rise to your higher self. To sharpen your mind like a blade. To turn pressure into clarity, pain into fire, fear into fuel. This is not just a mindset, it's a way of life. A way of life where you no longer wait for perfect conditions. You create them. You no longer wait for confidence. You build it. You no longer beg for permission. You command your place in the world. And all of that begins not with a motivational quote, not with a viral video, but with a decision. A decision to no longer let your mind run on autopilot. A decision to step into the pilot seat. And say, I rule this. Because if you don't, your mind will be ruled by the past. By pain. By laziness. By fear. By stories that were never even yours to begin with. Rule your mind, or it will rule you. And when it rules you, you lose everything. Your time. Your potential. Your peace. But when you rule it, you gain everything. Because when you finally take command of your mind, the world begins to look different. You don't just walk through life, you lead it. You don't shrink when problems arise, you expand to meet them. You don't run from challenge, you stare it down and grow teeth. You begin to notice the subtle shift. You're no longer reactive. You're responsive. No longer emotional. You're intentional. No longer scattered. You're locked in. This is when the universe starts to cooperate, not because it changed, but because you did. You stopped leaking energy on things that don't matter. You stopped giving your peace to people who haven't earned it. You stopped entertaining thoughts that once held you hostage. And slowly, silently, your confidence returns. Your focus sharpens. Your voice gets stronger, not louder, but deeper. Rooted in something real. Because you no longer live from the surface. You live from the core. And the core is forged in clarity. Clarity of who you are. Clarity of what you stand for. Clarity of where you're going even if the road isn't paved yet. Do you think Steve Jobs had the whole picture mapped out when he started? No. But he ruled his mind. He protected his vision like a flame in the wind. He didn't need everyone to believe, he needed himself to believe. And that belief lit a fire so bright, the world couldn't ignore it. This is the power of a trained mind. It makes you magnetic. It makes you undeniable. It makes you dangerous, not to others, but to limitations. Because people will try to project their fear onto you. They'll hand you their doubts, their insecurities, their small thinking. But when your mind is strong, their noise becomes background. You hear it, but you don't absorb it. You acknowledge it, but you don't obey it. Because your mission is louder than their opinions. And your discipline is stronger than their distractions. Understand this. The world will try to bend you. It will test your patience. It will poke at your weaknesses. It will offer you the illusion of comfort at the cost of your potential. But if your mind is ruled with intention, with vision, with resilience, you will not bend. You will not break. You will build. You'll build habits that elevate you. Routines that strengthen you. Beliefs that carry you when the path is dark and lonely. Because not every season will be filled with sunlight. There will be winters. Long, cold, brutal winters. Seasons where progress feels invisible. Where doubt becomes louder than clarity. Where the voice in your head says, quit. But that's when you must remember. You are the ruler of this mind. And rulers don't surrender to storms, they weather them. They don't panic when the wind blows, they anchor deeper. They don't beg for the conditions to be easier, they become stronger. Your job is not to avoid difficulty. Your job is to become so mentally prepared, so grounded in your purpose, that difficulty becomes fuel. You don't get sharper without resistance. You don't get stronger without pressure. You don't rise without first deciding that you will. And that decision must be made again and again every single day. Every time the alarm goes off and your body says no, you choose yes. Every time fear creeps in, you meet it with action. Every time you fall, you rise not with shame, but with lessons. Because a strong mind isn't a perfect mind. It's a mind that refuses to stay down. It's a mind that doesn't entertain weakness as a permanent identity. It doesn't collapse when people criticize. It doesn't quit when progress slows. It doesn't depend on motivation, it runs on mission. And if you can build that, if you can walk through the fire of your own excuses, and come out carrying your purpose like a torch, then you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you've become greater. You've become the kind of person who doesn't just talk about dreams. You chase them. You bleed for them. You live for them. Because you've ruled the kingdom most never dare to enter. The kingdom within. Because when you've ruled the mind, you've conquered the source of all victory and all defeat. You stop seeking power in things. You stop chasing validation in people. You stop waiting for the stars to align. You realize the stars were always inside you. You just had to clear the fog of fear, doubt, distraction, and noise to see them. You realize that every limitation you believed was real was only a thought. And every cage you ever felt trapped in was built in your imagination. And that's why the door was never locked. You were free the moment you decided to be. That's the real revolution. Not when the world changes, but when you do. When you stop being led by your emotions and start leading them. When you stop playing the victim and start becoming the architect. When you stop reacting to life and start commanding it from within. You want to change your future? You want to break generational cycles? You want to go places no one in your bloodline has ever been? Then you better master the one thing they never taught you how to control: your mind. Because until you do, every plan, every goal, every desire you have will be at the mercy of your weakest thought. And the truth is, one lazy thought can undo 10 years of ambition. One moment of self-doubt can sabotage a destiny. But one powerful belief? One iron decision? One moment of pure, unwavering mental clarity? It can change everything. That is your edge. That is your weapon. That is your birthright. So the question is not, can I do it? The question is, will I take control of the one thing I was born to rule? Because if you don't, someone else will. You'll be ruled by circumstance, by distraction, by weakness, by the opinions of people who never even had the courage to chase what you're chasing. But if you do, if you make that choice every day, to silence the noise, to discipline your emotions, to focus your attention, to command your thoughts like a general commands an army, then nothing can stop you. Not the critics. Not the failures. Not even the old version of you trying to drag you back. Because you'll be too strong, too focused, too aligned, too free. That's the power of a ruled mind. That's the fire of someone who knows who they are and where they're going. And that fire cannot be bought, borrowed, or faked. It must be built. Hour by hour. Day by day. Battle by battle. Until you no longer have to fight every thought. Because the battlefield is now yours. And the enemy no longer walks there. Only you. Clear. Certain. Commanding. You rule your mornings. You rule your focus. You rule your habits. You rule your emotions. You rule your future. Because you finally ruled the one thing that was always in your hands: your mind. So hear this, and let it sink into the depths of your soul. Your mind is your master, or your servant. Your weapon, or your weakness. Your kingdom, or your cage. And only you can decide which one it becomes. So don't let it run wild. Don't let it drift. Don't let it be a playground for fear, doubt, and failure.